Hey guys, welcome to Streak Initiative. This is Sukanya Rana, and this week we are covering geography related questions for your prelims 2021. Utilize these video as a break between your prelims preparation, and I do hope that some of the topics that are important for prelims will provide you with a quick revision in these videos. So without much ado, let's move on to the first question of the day, and this is related to a geographical location kind of a question. So the question is on Javadi Hills. Now Javadi Hills, don't confuse it. It's very much the same, the Javadi Hills that you see in your map. It's also known as Javadi Hills, and also sometimes Javadi Hills, right? So they are all same. There are three statements given with respect to it. Number one is that it is an extension of your eastern Ghats spread across the region of Tamil Nadu. Second is Malayali tribal people constitute the majority of this particular region. And third is Vainu Bapu Observatory, India's astronomical observatory owned and operated by Indian Institute of Astrophysics, is located on these hills. Now you have to identify which statement is correct here. Now again, this is combination of your static knowledge as well as your current affairs knowledge. Like this observatory was there in current affairs, so you might know through that also. And the first two statement you can attempt with your knowledge of static region also, right? And also this Javadi Hills was also in news because recently Vandhan Tribal Startup Program, they started a component, that is a component of your MFP, that is marketing of minor forest produce. Related to that scheme, we had Javadi Hills that was in news also. So that also became a major source of news for this particular hills. Now these hills are in fact located in the eastern regions. Yes, they are part of your Tamil Nadu region. You have the Vellore and Tiruvannamalai region in the Tamil Nadu area. So the first statement is very much correct. Again, if you remember the map of all the hill areas, that map is very important. Make sure you revise that map, where all the hill regions, hills are located in India, because a lot of time in UPSC they give you a rearrangement of the hills from north to south or east to west. So those kind of questions are important. So first statement is very much correct. In fact, there are two rivers, which is Chayar and Argam. These are tributaries of your Palar river, which passes through these particular hills. This hills is also known for bluish grey granites. So that is also one trivia information that you can add. The second statement is also very much correct. In fact, this particular tribe constitute 92% of the population that is living in this region. Now again, tribal population, there have been a lot of questions on tribes also. So keep a tab on wherever you find these tribal regions, because as such, mugging up each and everything about tribes, where they are and some of the cultural thing that is associated with them can be very difficult, right? So wherever you see it in current affairs, make sure you just revise that portion. At least that will be not very difficult for you to cover up, right? And the third statement is also very much correct. It is in the Kavalur region of this particular hill, and this observatory is located in Javadi Hills. Now that means all the statements are correct, and D is the answer for this particular question. Next, we're going to talk about temperature inversion. Some part of temperature inversion I think we discussed in yesterday's video also, but it was not in detail. So this question is actually talking about effects of temperature inversion. Now this is a very logical question. If you have understood what is the idea behind temperature inversion, you can easily attempt this question, right? So the effects of temperature inversion, there are three effects given. The first is visibility may be greatly reduced. It causes less rainfall, and diurnal variations are very large due to the inversions. That means in between the day, the temperature differences are are very large. That is what the third statement says. Now, temperature inversion, like we discussed last time also, it's something like with height, your temperature is supposed to fall. But in temperature inversions, what happens is with height, the temperature actually increases. That is what the idea of temperature inversion is. Because when the Earth's surface becomes very cold and the air nearer to it gets warmer, so that is where temperature inversion happens. So if you have that kind of situation, where the Earth's surface is cold and you have air which is warmer above, it causes a lot of condensation along the dust particles and all those things. So that is why we have a lot of fog and cloudy situations whenever we have temperature inversion that is near the surface of Earth, right? So obviously the first statement is correct. Logically, visibility will reduce because temperature inversions always leads to conditions of fog and cloudiness, right? So first statement is very much correct. Let's look at the second statement here. Now, see, temperature inversion actually creates a lot of stable situation, right? The situation that is created is very stable. There's this fog which is present there. So when we have a cloudy situation which is near the surface of Earth, the heat and the normal convective cell which has to work for rainfall gets disrupted, right? So that is why the rainfall is less because of temperature inversion, because you don't have the normal heat that is going up and it's getting condensed, it's converting into clouds. So that kind of phenomena is hampered because of the temperature inversion, because you have low level clouds which are already formed, right? So it leads to less rainfall. Very much correct. The third statement is wrong. Like I talked about, see, stable conditions of temperature are created, right? Stable atmospheric conditions are created here in inversion. So you cannot have very high, range of temperature deviations, right? So in fact, we'll have very small diurnal variations because it's a more stabilized condition that is created in temperature inversion. So third statement is wrong and you have A as the answer, which is 1 and 2 are correct. So this is an interesting question. It's an application based question. So I hope it helped you to revise some of the concepts related to temperature inversion. Next also we have a current affair related question which is related to red rice. So the idea here was that recently, in order to boost India's rice export potential, the first consignment of red rice from India was actually shipped off to USA. And that is why this question is here. So there are two statements with respect to red rice. Number one is that red rice locally is known as baodhan and is rich in iron content. Second is that it is grown in the Brahmaputra Valley of Assam without the use of any chemical fertilizers. Now, you can pause the video, read the question again, mark your answer. The answer for this question is C. Both the statements are very much correct. In fact, it is grown near the Brahmaputra region and yes, it's grown without fertilizer. So yeah, that is kind of a organic kind of idea attached to it. It is known as baodhan and it is red in color. It is rich in iron content and the red color is actually because of anthocyanin content. So that is the thing that creates the husky red brownish color in it, and it has a very high nutrient value, not only iron but it is high in manganese, calcium, zinc. So it is a better source of nutrients as compared to your white rice also, and it has high glycemic index. So if you've heard about the idea of glycemic index is that anything that has it has low glycemic index. So anything that has low glycemic index, that means it is going to take longer time to digest in your body and the sugar will be released slowly, right? So things like whenever people say that you should eat something which has low glycemic index, it helps in weight reducing idea also. It's good for your body. Your body is kept, you don't feel that hunger pangs because slowly the food is digested, the sugar is released in your blood. blood. So in that ways it's much more healthier. So you have things like oats, you have things like other things like millets and all those things. They have low glycemic index, right? The sugar is released slowly in the blood, in your blood levels, and that is also healthy for your sugar levels, right? So that is also important with respect to red rice, and also it is high antioxidant. So a good option to include in your diet other than millets and these things. Like, we are a generation which is driven by the idea of eating too much wheat and rice. So I think other options like millets is a good option. Things like red rice is a good option instead of going those westernized ideas of, say, oats, quinoa. I think you have a good local options that you can go into. So yeah, keeping myself limited to the idea of UPSC, the answer for this particular question is C. Both the answers are pretty much correct. And the last question of the day is related to Similipal Biosphere Reserve. Now again, any biosphere reserve, very important. There are few in India. You have to go through them, you have to go through all the rivers that is there, any important feature that is associated with that particular biosphere, the region, the species, everything is important. So right now we are talking about Similipal. So the first statement is that it derives its names from the simul tree, which is silk cotton, and it is a national park and a tiger reserve which is situated in Odisha. Second is sal is the dominant tree present here, and third is that it lies in the eastern end of the Eastern Ghats and was declared Biosphere Reserve in 1994. So the answer for this particular question is D. All the statements are correct. The first statement is right. It actually derives its name from this silk cotton tree, and pretty much correct. It's a national park. There is a tiger reserve here. The dominant species is sal tree. There are other species of trees also present here, like we've got orchids, we've got other 3000 species of plants here, but sal is the dominant here. It was declared as a biosphere reserve in 1994, and it was also enacted as a protected part under the UNESCO World Network of Biosphere Reserves since it has been there in 2009. And also we have got tribal regions like Ho and Santhal, which have been located in this particular region. So yeah, that is also another piece of news that you can add to this particular statement. So all the statements are very much correct here, 1, 2 and 3, and the answer here is D. So that's it guys for today. Keep on revising, keep on studying, and all the best for your prelims. Thank you so much.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update from Civilsdaily.